Hey everybody, this is Sean Vargas. Welcome to the 13th episode of WrestlePop mixing pro wrestling and pop culture. My aim with WrestlePop is for you to be yourself as I review wrestling events, live concerts, conventions, or sporting events. Today I'm going to review AEW All Out, which occurred 2 nights ago, August 31st. It was broadcasted on Bleacher Report Live and it occurred in the Sears Center in Chicago, Illinois. I was going to review the show yesterday, but we had some company. So AEW All Out was held on the same day as NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, taking place early in the afternoon. The question was, which event was better? I'm going to answer that later on in this post. Let's get on with the review. AEW was a good show. I believe one match saved this from being a bad to average event. Let's start with the pre-show. Now, due to having technical issues, I missed the first match of the pre-show, which was the Women's Battle Royal. And the match that I saw was Private Party of Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn defeating Angelico and Jack Evans in a very good match. Evans and Angelico attacked Private Party after the match, leading to a heel turn and a party pooper chant from the crowd. Afterwards, there's an interview segment with MJF, the salt of the earth, who appeared in a backstage interview segment. He did not have a match and he wanted to help Cody Rhodes or Cody defeat Shawn Spears. We are then joined by the legendary Jim Ross, in which commentary team of Golden Boy, Excalibur, and Jim Ross himself will call the night. Let's begin now with the official All Out. The first match saw SCU consisting of Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, and Christopher Daniels defeating the Jurassic Express of Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, and Jungle Boy in a six-man tag team match. There was a huge Jungle Boy chant from the crowd. This was a good match as Jungle Boy and Frankie Kazarian started the match off with fast, offensive maneuvers. As I mentioned in my previous post on AEW, I am a huge fan of the Luchasaurus, as there was a huge Luchasaurus chant. The highlights of the match included Marco Stunt, who was a little guy doing a series of offensive flurries, including Hurricanranas. Luchasaurus somersaulting on three members of SCU, even knocking off his own men. The SCU worked over Jungle Boy for most of the match, preventing the hot tag. Eventually, Jungle Boy clotheslined Christopher Daniels to get the hot tag to the Luchasaurus. Now the finish saw SCU win with the best move ever on both Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt, with Christopher Daniels pinning Marco Stunt. Again, this is a pretty good match to start the night. Luchasaurus saved the match from being bad. Now, after the finish, both teams shook each other's hands for good sportsmanship, and I believe the wrong team won since the Jurassic Express, including Luchasaurus, are so over with the crowd. The second match saw Pac the Bastard defeating Kenny Omega. Now, Kenny Omega was originally supposed to face Jon Moxley, but Moxley was out with an injury. Pac was formerly Neville in WWE. I don't understand the name Pac the Bastard. You could have just gone with the name Pac. Now, there was a huge Omega chant to start the match. And the story of the match was both wrestlers were trying to showboat each other. The highlights of the match included Kenny Omega doing a flying somersault onto Pac, who was on the outside of the ring, Pac catching Kenny Omega with a spike DDT for a 2 count, and Kenny Omega tossed Pac into the rope, followed up by a spine buster for only a 2 count. Now the finish saw Kenny Omega go for the one-winged angel. However, Pac caught him with a brutalizer submission. Kenny went down and the referee called for the bell. I don't understand why Pac won since Kenny Omega was already established. Now the next match was a Cracker Barrel triple threat match as Jimmy Havoc defeated Darby Allin and Bad Boy Joey Janela. This match was a shock value match that included tables, nails, staple guns, chairs, and skateboards. The match started with Jimmy Havoc going under the ring to pull out tables and chairs, including a stapler gun, and Jimmy Havoc even stapled himself as Darby Allin and Joey Janela attacked them. Now the bad boy held Havoc on a chair, and Darby Allin taped Jimmy to the chair. Darby then pulled thumbtacks into Havoc's mouth, and the bad boy taped his mouth to the tacks inside. Chaos continued the rest of the match as more weapons were involved, including skateboards lined with tacks and paper used for paper cuts. The finish show saw Jimmy Havoc superplexing Joey Janela's leg through a cracker barrel, followed by an acid rainmaker clothesline through the cracker barrel for the victory. As stated, this was a shock value match. The next match saw the Dark Order of Evil Uno and Stu Grayson defeating best friends Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor to earn a bye in the inaugural Tag Team Titles tournament. This was an okay match. There was a spooky pervert chant by the crowd towards the Dark Order. I was not a fan of the Dark Order, who were accompanied by their creepers. The finish saw the Dark Order give Trent Beretta the fatality for the victory. After the match, Stu Grayson attacked Chuck Taylor some more, sending him into the barricade, and the creepers carried Trent Beretta. The lights go out, the lights go back on, and some wrestler appears in the middle of the ring with his hands in his pocket. The announcers say this wrestler's name was Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy hit a tope suicida on the creepers with his hands inside his pocket. Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta hugged Orange Cassidy. Now, I believe this segment fell flat because I did not know who Orange Cassidy was until the commentators mentioned his name. Even if his name was mentioned, I still did not know who he was. You can't expect to debut a wrestler on a pay-per-view event cold without a backstory and expect to know who he or she is. So again, this segment fell flat. Next match saw Rio defeating Hikaru Shida to earn the right to face Nyla Rose for the inaugural Women's Championship. This was my first time seeing Hikaru Shida. Beginning of the match was fast-paced, and the story was Rio never gave up. Highlights included Hikaru giving hanging backbreaker on Rio, who was draped over the top rope, followed by a knee to the back for only a 2 count. Rio foot stomping Hikaru onto the midsection, who was laying prone outside the ring apron. Hikaru catching Rio in a step-up enziguri, followed by a superplex for the 2 count. Now the finish saw Rio catching Hikaru in a crucifix roll over for the victory. After the match, Nyla Rose appeared and pointed at Rio as they will battle for the inaugural AEW Women's Championship on AEW's first television show on October 2nd on TNT. The next match saw Cody defeat Shawn Spears, accompanied by Tully Blanchard, member of the legendary Four Horsemen. This match was a follow-up from the ill-advised chair shot around the world at Fyter Fest. Spears sat on a chair and got up and walked down the aisle with the chair he hit Cody with in a symbolic gesture. Blanchard then joined him. Spears was also wearing some clear contacts. I don't know what was that all about. And he also called himself the chairman of AEW. Now, Brandy Rose, dressed in a silver Star Trek gear, walked with a white dog, joined by Diamond Dallas Page and MJF in the back. Now, Cody raised from the ground with a Star Trek-like shirt and all of them walked down the aisle. Referee Earl Hebner wanted only one person in Cody's corner, so Cody nominated MJF to remain in his corner as the rest returned to the locker room. Cody started the match by launching to the ropes with Tope Suicida on Shawn Spears, and they also brawled through the crowd. They made it back to the ring and the bell sounded, signifying the beginning of the match. This was a pretty good grudge match. As Tully Blanchard consistently interfered, Tully Blanchard did his best to make sure that Spears got over. Now there was one highlight in which the enforcer Arn Anderson, former member of the Horsemen and partner Blanchard, walked towards the ring and caught Spears in a spine buster, popping the crowd and surprising Blanchard, who also returned backstage, leaving Spears. The finish saw Spears grab the chair, but Cody intervened. Cody held the chair as if attempting to hit Spears with it, but he refused. Cody then threw the chair at Spears, who caught it, and Cody booted the chair into Spears, followed up with the Crossroads for the victory. After the match, MJF and Cody hugged, and they celebrated in the middle of the ring. The next match is the Escalera de la Muerte ladder death match, as the Lucha Brothers of Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix defeated Young Bucks of Nick and Matt Jackson to retain the AAA Tag Team titles. There was a dueling "Let's Go Bucks, Cero Miedo" chant by the crowd. As I said earlier in this review, one match saved the pay-per-view from being bad to average, and it was this match. If there's any match you have to go back and see, it is this one. There was even a "Fight Forever" chant from the crowd and an AEW chant. There were simultaneous ladder moves done, including splashing each other's opponents through the tables. The ladder was used in so many ways. My words do not do this match justice. The finish saw Nick Jackson lay two tables side by side at the foot of the ramp outside the ring. Nick Jackson climbed the ladder, but Pentagon caught him and pushed the ladder, sending Nick out of the ring and crashing into one of the tables by the steel ramp. Pentagon and Matt Jackson fought on top of the ladder. However, Matt Jackson pulled Pentagon's mask, causing him to fall, cause him to fall, because it is from Mexican roots that you cannot take off your mask. Your mask protects your identity. Now, Pentagon was able to get his mask back on, and Rey Fenix was able to prevent Matt Jackson from reaching the titles. Now, Pentagon takes Matt Jackson and holds him in a spike piledriver position over a ladder that is laying between the apron and ring barricade. Rey Fenix jumps onto Matt as Pentagon drives Matt Jackson through the ladder. Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix climbed another ladder to grab the titles. Again, you have to see this match. After the match, two masked men attacked the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks. They removed their masks to reveal themselves as Santana and Ortiz, Los Boricuas. I believe they were formerly LAX from TNA. Again, you are debuting wrestlers cold. The main event saw Chris Jericho defeat Hangman Page to become the inaugural AEW champion. This match was notable for Audrey Edwards, referee, being the first female to officiate a title match between two men in the main event. Hangman Page rode down the aisle on a horse. His family also sat at ringside in the crowd. Now there was dueling "Let's Go Hangman Y2J" chants by the crowd. This was a good match as Jericho played cat and mouse games with Hangman. Highlights included Hangman catching Jericho with a shooting star press for the 2 count. Chris Jericho catching Hangman with the walls of Jericho, but Hangman rolled out and caught Jericho with a discus elbow strike right above the right eye, busting Jericho open. Hangman worked on Jericho's eye, which left Jericho almost a crimson mask. Another highlight was Hangman moonsaulting off the top rope onto Jericho, who was outside of the ring. Now the finish saw Hangman catching Jericho with the dead eye, but Jericho kicked out on two. Hangman then caught Jericho with a buckshot lariat, went for the dead eye again, but Jericho rolled, avoided it, and caught Hangman with his Judas Effect spinning elbow for the victory to become the inaugural AEW champion. Again, this was a good match. However, there was one thing that was not needed: blood. AEW. This was the fourth event in a row in which you are using blood. You are using blood as a crutch. Jericho did not need to be busted open. Also, you are crowning the first ever AEW champion. Do you want a match of such importance to be mired in blood? I don't think so. The story should have been the best, fighting the best to be the first ever champion. In any case, I have no problem with Chris Jericho becoming the first AEW champion because it gives credibility to AEW. All in all, AEW All Out was a good pay-per-view, and one match saved it from being bad to average. I give AEW All Out a 7 out of 10. So let's answer the question, which event was better? NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff or AEW All Out? I would say NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff was a way better show. First, there was no emotional connection with the wrestlers of AEW. First, you debuted wrestlers blind like Orange Cassidy or Los Boricuas, and you expect us to cheer as if we know who they are. There was a major emotional connection with the wrestlers of NXT UK. This was my first time seeing Ilja Dragunov, and he earned my respect after his match with Cesaro. I was not familiar with Flash Morgan Webster, although I was familiar with Mark Andrews, yet I was jumping out of my seat cheering them on, hoping they would win the tag team champions. Yet they did, they won. I hardly watched the NXT nor NXT UK weekly episodes because I don't have time to watch them, but I find myself invested in the characters due to proper backstory and booking whenever I watch the takeover specials. Also, AEW keeps depending on shock value, like thumbtacks gore without story progression. The main event between Tyler Bate and Walter was miles ahead of the main event between Hangman Page and Jericho. And the Bate Walter match did not have any blood. AEW has its work cut out for them when they debuted on TNT on October 2nd. If they want to take on WWE NXT, WWE NXT UK, or the WWE main roster. The WWE has over 40 years in producing wrestling content, and it is a global phenomenon. Let's see what will happen. The next event I will cover under WrestlePop is WWE Clash of the Champions on September 15th, 2019, which will be broadcasted on the WWE Network live from the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Also, this Wednesday, check out episode 4 of Songs from the Heart, in which I will sing 2 songs a cappella, a tribute and an original. I will be covering freestyle. Until then, this is Sean Vargas for WrestlePop signing off. Be yourself, and this has been a Team Vargas Initiatives production.